Hey there, future me. Hope you're doing well. It's currently Thursday morning. It was technically Wednesday evening just a few hours ago, but we don't talk about that. Anyways, it's been a while, I guess, since I've sat down to record audio for another video. I think I worry that I'm gradually making that prophecy or turning the I guess description of the preface video, which was yet another young adult starts another self project likely to be discontinued in the upcoming weeks. I worry that that's becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I guess I at least by sitting down and trying to record this now, maybe I'm pushing back against that. Anyways, I guess a few pseudo major mention worthy events happened over the past 3 weeks. I think in order, I gave myself a haircut. Haven't done that in 7 months. I usually just grow it out until the hair kind of I can't see anymore and I have to get it out of the way, and it's man, that's annoying. um my old microwave broke. The microwave kind of came with whenever I moved in a year ago, because the previous guy left it there. So I was that's kind of rough. So I got a new one, and I got a new phone because I've actually just been mooching off of my dad's mobile plan this whole time. And he wanted to get some senior plan or something, but it could only support 5G. And the phone that I was using, an iPhone 6, right, couldn't support 5G. And so he was all right, son, new phone time, because whenever he switched it was some kind of if you switch and you're stay with the plan for 2 years, you can get a phone for zero down payment. So I went from an iPhone 6 to a Pixel 8a. So I've jumped a decade in technology, from a decade in the past to the present era. And I guess with phone, with the mentioning of new phone, and wow, look at all this new smart stuff. They took out the audio jack, so you can now connect your cool wireless headphones that I don't have. And just yeah, I guess this is where I'm gonna try to pivot. This is actually the third time I'm trying to record this, so third time's the charm, hopefully, of just rambling about phones and I guess dependency towards them, and just how I guess it's I guess just trying to reflect on the emergence of tech over the years, because of course growing up and stuff, whenever smartphones weren't a thing until I was in elementary school, and even then they were still kind of, I guess they weren't a normal thing to have, right? I guess what back in fourth grade I think was the first time I saw an iPod Touch, and it wasn't really used to it was just kind of a gizmo that you could give your kid, right? Of course, there were video game consoles back in the day, or handheld consoles back in the day, the Game Boy, the Game Boy Advance, and the DS, but smartphones only really picked up in middle school and all that stuff, and even then they weren't really that big, right? It was only in high school when stuff like Insta and Snapchat really took off, and people started using them a lot. And now everything is super intertwined, and even education has had the opportunity to I guess make use of smartphones and stuff. I remember having to install this thing called Top Hat for one of the classes that I took in undergrad, and we had to pay some amount of I still can't believe we had to pay money for that, man. We had to pay for it was it wasn't that much, but $5 is still kind of bro, why $5 per semester just to be able to answer questions in the middle of lecture, right? The lecturer would kind of bring out some slides, and then it'd have the top hat thing. It's okay guys, take out your phone, answer the question. And so you take out your phone, you answer the question, and it's all right, cool. And if you didn't do it, then you'd take a hit on your grade. So it's man, really, I guess it's a good thing my phone then, which was, yeah, I guess still the iPhone 6 at the time. Yeah, this thing's ancient. Was was able to use Top Hat. Although I bet the newer versions of Top Hat have gotten to a point where they probably don't play nice with iOS 12 anymore. But yeah, it's really weird, just how I guess smartphones and all that stuff is there now, right? Because back in the day, growing up, it wasn't a thing, and I don't really, I guess I was pretty happy at the time because I had all this or I guess, well, I didn't I didn't know how good it could be, right? Having tech and all that stuff, right? Before you, I don't think it was, I guess the generation right before me, if we, I consider myself, I think I'm technically an early Zoomer. I don't know, if you look at the millennials, yeah, the millennials, they probably didn't have all that stuff, right? Personal laptops and all that didn't really become a thing whenever they were in college. It was only until later on. Whereas I got my first laptop whenever I was going into college, which is like the G3 that I'm still using today. And even this is like still is now like pretty. I guess it's like decently old. I don't know like what the aging process is, but there are like some things that, like I'd have to like shift to Windows 11 for, and I don't really want to do that just yet. If anything, I'd probably pivot to Linux. Anyways, I guess I'm digressing a little bit, but it's just really strange to think about how whenever I was growing up, there were all these things that we had to do, and like now we don't have to do them. For example, like whenever we wanted to go on a road trip, we would need to print out directions prior. We have to, get like go onto the desktop computer, look up Google Maps, right? Look up the directions where we want to go, and then we have to print them out. And if you're driving along the road and we like missed a turn, or we didn't know that we missed a turn, then like we'd only find out like a lot later when we ended up in like a different spot, or like, hey, that doesn't, I don't, it says we're gonna make like two rights here, but we made one right, and that second right hasn't shown up anytime soon. Maybe we like missed it, right? Um, you always have to have like the guy in shotgun, just like, which I guess was my mom at the time, just kind of like holding the directions, just like, kind of navigating my dad around. Whereas like nowadays, like a lot of my friends just kind of can, you know, they have the little thingy like right next to the steering. They can slide their phone into the thing right next to the steering wheel and then plug it into like the car computer, like a dashboard, right? And just like load up directions, and whenever like they miss a turn, there's like a response in real time. I guess like to go slightly even further back, or maybe it's like around the same time period. We couldn't store contacts weren't a thing, right? Like, or well, I guess like they were a thing like a little bit later on, like between like like landline phones and smartphones. But like my parents actually had to keep like address books, right? Like phone numbers for like my grandparents back in China. I guess just like friends, colleagues, right? And like I remember back in like it was like preschool or something, we had this like activity to where like they tried to like teach us to like memorize like our parents' phone numbers, because that would be like a good skill to have, I guess. Like I still technically I still have my parents' phone numbers memorized, but it's like my dad, my mom, myself, and then anyone else not really. And I guess the utility of that isn't really that much anymore, right? Because my parents are like, I'm in a different state than both of my parents, and if I'm in some kind of situation like here, right, and like my phone breaks and then like none of my friends are around, I have to contact one of my like friends who are here. I don't know any of their phone numbers, right? I just know them by their I know them by their name. Like whenever I go to text them or whenever I go to call them, I just look up, like name, message, right, or like name, call, right? But like I don't actually like know their number, and so that would be like, I guess, a good thing to like have in my mind, right, in the case of like I reach that situation. Similarly, like if you I guess if you don't print out directions and like you're just kind of driving somewhere and then like your phone just like croaks, you're gonna have a fun time, I guess, like figuring out what to do. But maybe those aren't like that big of a deal. But like other things would be like what, two-factor authentication. Like a lot of things rely on phone number. If I had like an issue transferring my phone number over from, I guess, just like the iPhone 6 to like the Pixel, right, then I wouldn't be able to log into like my school email because they send a text to like my phone number. It's like, oh, this is your security code, or you're supposed to open our app and then push the, I did, say this like sign in request thing. Please let me in, right? And it's just kind of, it's weird, right? Because like this wasn't really, it wasn't really a thing back then, or like I guess, well, back then when I was like 5, right? Because I guess that level of security, like we weren't able to have like this level of convenience, or maybe the convenience, security, maybe efficiency is like the most like covers like all the bases here. Like we didn't have this level of efficiency, and it's really nice that like we can do this now. But I'm somehow kind of worried as to like what if like things collapse. I guess like what last video I was talking kind of about like, oh man, like undergrad is axing the Google Drive. This is kind of a bummer, like for alumni, right? This is unfortunate, right? I thought I could count on this because like one of the things that like I remember they were touting like was just kind of like, oh yeah, you get this drive space, you're gonna keep it forever, and so it's not really their fault as to from what I gather, like it's not their fault. It's more of like Google was kind of like, yeah, we're gonna change the prices, like, and now it's like not really affordable for the institution because like that would just be like a compounding cost every year. So they're kind of like, yeah, it's sorry guys, I don't think we could do that. But it's just I guess like relying on some kind of like system is like systems are cool, right? Because there's all this like extra stuff that you can do as a result of the system, right? With cloud storage, you don't have to use your own space. You can have like a smaller computer, right? And you don't have to worry about sending files to yourself because as long as they're on the cloud, you can just pull them from the cloud and like whenever you're done working on it and you save the file, you can just hop on another computer and use it and it's great. But whenever the system goes down, like it's going to be a bit like unfortunate, right? It's like just a bummer when that happens. I suppose like I have like a related story, I guess. Like in junior year of like undergrad, there was like this ice storm, right? That like knocked out like the power like where I lived because all of like our power lines were, I guess they I don't know what they're called, like the power poles, like the wooden poles with like the power lines running like on them. Like the ice storm basically iced over a lot of those, and so a lot of them fell over like in many different parts of the city, and so like I think like it knocked out one third of like the city's like yeah, one third of the city didn't have power for like a good amount, and I was a part of that one third, and so we didn't have electricity, and it was like decently cold, but fortunately, like the place that we were like renting in at the time had like these gas heaters, and so my dad and I were just kind of like hanging out by those gas heaters like throughout the entire day, and like we cooked like, or we well, cooking is a that'd be a bit too generous. We heated up like canned food, right, by like the gas heater, and because like his office building had like a backup generator, we would go over there at night and then like try to make stuff in the microwave, including I learned that you can microwave chicken breast as long as you do it for long enough. It turns out all right. So I probably not going to try that here just because I feel like I'll likely give myself food poisoning, and I might as well like learn to cook over the stove as I have a stove to use. But yeah, like it was just kind of one of those moments where like you don't have power for like 11 days, but it's still like you still have to like attend school, which was all like Zoom U at the time because I was at home and it was during like the pandemic and everything. Like it was just really I like I'd be maybe giving myself too much credit towards like I was awakened to the cruelties of the world, but it was more just kind of like it was interesting, I guess, to recognize just how much time I spend like using tech, and if I don't have tech or like if I'm deprived of it, if I just don't have access to it for some amount of time, it can be really like detrimental in some ways, right? I can't like contact people, like even I can't like contact my friends who are like far away. I can't play video game. It's oh man, I can't play truly one of the greatest tragedies. But other things like I can't do like if my assignments right involve like doing some serious calculations, like I can't like check with like Mathematica or like plot them out, or if I have to code, then you can't code with pencil and paper, man. I don't know what to tell you. You can't submit assignments, right? If that's the case as well, like all of this like infrastructure is great because it offers like a lot of convenience and it offers a lot of like really cool stuff. But if the infrastructure like doesn't exist and you've become dependent on the infrastructure, then like I guess a lot of bad stuff can happen. And so I've been like kind of thinking about like, or maybe not really thinking, but it's well, if I talk about it, then I guess I've thought about it, right? But it's just a weird thing to think about at the moment. Just like how much like I've grown to becoming accustomed or just becoming reliant, but also being capable of using technology to a very advantageous way. And then also kind of like how it will, I guess, change. Because I guess like we're already kind of witnessing some stuff right now, like with like large language models. I don't really know how huge it is, but I do know that a lot more people are kind of like, oh, bro, I'm gonna like GPT my essay, right? Like, why should I type this when I could just GPT my essay, right? Now, plagiarism is like this huge thing for like a lot of people are like flipping out about, and I guess like if I want to go into academia, this is gonna be uh, something that I guess I have to care about, right? If I'm gonna like be teaching like either high school or like undergrad kiddos, right? I remember like whenever I went back like a year ago to like my high school physics teacher who like it was his last year and he was retiring, right? I sat in on one of his like lectures after giving like a little talk at lunch, and there were just like so many kids that just kind of had like their computers out and it's like like the laptops, so yeah, we're using these to learn stuff, right? But then like um you can kind of see they have like they got like Messenger like or Discord or something like open like on the side, and maybe like if the lecture is getting a little bit slow, they can like pop up some like TikToks or something. I don't know, like, but maybe I guess like this is kind of one of those like moments to where I realize that I'm becoming a bit more of a boomer. Like those memes of like, "Father, why can I not click the book?" are like becoming, uh, a bit more relatable, and I'm not really sure whether that's like a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe it's just the coming of age. Um, it's just really strange, right? Like another thing is that like I don't really know if I want to, I guess, stick along for this ride, I guess, of having tech being, or like being more dependent on tech, but I think it's going to happen anyways, right? Like, if I don't install the app on my phone, right, like I'm not going to be able to log into like my school email. So I have to have a smartphone to do that. The place where I like lived in last year, which was like the school's like graduate student apartments, right? Like in order to do the laundry, you couldn't even, you had to like have like an app on your phone. But my phone, like the iPhone 6 at the time, was like too old to where I couldn't install the app. And so I go up to like the laundry people or like the RAs, right? I'm like, yo, can't do laundry with my phone. Am I just like boned? Can I like put in quarters or something? And they're like, yeah, you're kind of boned. And it's like, oh shit, okay. So I had to end up like every time I wanted to do laundry, I had to, bug my friend, like fellow grad student who was living there, if I could use his phone and like use his credits and then like, like Venmo him money or something, right? Um, and then like just recently, whenever I got this like new phone, like the Pixel 8a, like I wasn't even given like, so the Pixel 8a is like this USB-C thing, right? And so like I wasn't currently, like I guess the iPhone 6 had this like lightning port to USB, right? But then I can just take the USB and I can put that into like the USB to wall socket. So I was kind of expecting to get the same thing, like a USB-C to like a USB-A. Oh man, my phone's going off. Like a USB-A, and then I can put the USB-A into the wall socket, right, and then charge my phone. It only came with a USB-C to a USB-C, and it's like, bro, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, the G3, like, which is like the laptop I have right now, is like there are no USB-Cs on this thing. Like, how am I supposed to charge my phone, man? I don't know. It's just like a really weird shift. Like, more stuff is like more stuff is wireless, more stuff is like Bluetooth. All the ports are becoming different, so I got to get like the new ports. It feels like the cycle of like something being like up to date is like becoming shorter and shorter. I think that's like an actual thing that's happening, not just like a conspiracy theory, like planned obsolescence or something, right? And there's so many like uh, additional dependencies to think about. Like the copy of Microsoft Office that I got whenever I attended my undergrad is I think is like was like 2016 version, and like that's like the last version that doesn't require you to kind of like log in or something like every whatchamacallit, because like my dad, like on his personal computer, like he was moving off of like I guess another school copy of like Microsoft Office, right? But it was like the 2019 version, and so like every so often he has to like bug me and say like, "Yo, can you like log into like, your account and stuff so I can use Microsoft Office?" And it's like, what the heck, right? Because like I don't have to do that because I just have 2016 and it pops up and it's like, "Oh, you're whatchamacallit, your license, you got a license for that?" Right? Like, oh man, your license expired, and it's like, okay, well, great, and then you just click close and it's done. But for him, I have to do all this other stuff. So like I've been kind of like briefly looking into maybe pivoting to more like open source stuff like Linux. I've been trying to get him to go to like LibreOffice, but like I guess that's something that takes time, right? And I don't really know as to I guess like as to if how much of it I'll do. Right? I guess just trying to become less reliant on the systems in some way, but I guess I'm still using the phone, right? So maybe I should also look into I guess whenever I'm not working, I should try to have more hobbies or more activities that are beyond the screen or just kind of like more local, strictly localized activities, like reading book or drawing, playing keyboard, like sport, right? But it's hard, I guess, because I've grown used to becoming very like I guess codependent with technology, right? Like using technology to do so many things that I can't usually do with just like the stuff that I have, but also like or well, using technology as a tool to do more things, but at the same time like now I just really want to do those things and it's a bit like harder to I guess push outside of those and also like I've naturally become more dependent on it, and I guess everyone else has too, to where like if something goes wrong, right, if the cloud goes down or if like my phone bricks, then like I'm gonna have a lot of issues. But that's just kind of how things are. And or but is it though? Like I don't know. Like I feel like I should be able. I wonder as to how much agency I have on the situation, right? Like, how many things should I realistically I can prepare for? Of course, if there's like some societal collapse, I'll probably have greater issues to worry about than being able to log into like my, you know, school email. But um, maybe if there are just like some minor things, like what can I do to like make sure that like maybe have some local backups or like have some kind of thing in case of like system failure, right? What can I do that's like reasonable that doesn't cut into my time too much, but also would be useful in the case of like minor setbacks, which are like more likely to occur than say like major setbacks. I don't know, just food for thought. I guess I'm just trying to put my thoughts out there, but I guess that's what this channel is, right? Um, wow, 20 minutes. I guess this will be like the longest video to date. So I guess that's all I got for now. I'll probably have like I hope I sit down and keep recording rambles. So hope to see you in like I hope I upload this like a little bit more sooner than like the last videos, which I kind of uploaded pretty late. And yeah, I guess until next time, future me. See you then, man.